I'm Ariel Jastorf, and today I am doing a presentation on John B. Watson. John B. Watson was born in Greenville, South Carolina, January 9th, 1878, to his parents Emma and Pickens Watson. He did grow up in a poor farming family. His mother was extremely religious, while his dad was actually an alcoholic and was prone to violence. His dad did end up leaving the family in 1891 when John was just 13 years old, which led to a lot of instability for Watson. He performed poorly in school, was actually arrested twice for fighting and disorderly behavior. Despite all of that, Watson did begin attending Furman University in 1894 due to connections that his mother had. At that point, he did turn it around and graduated with his master's by the age of 21. Following that time, he taught for a year, but then furthered his studies at the University of Chicago. Originally started out in philosophy, but after not really agreeing with some of the teachings, he switched and started studying under two psychologists, James Roland Ingle and Henry Donaldson. In 1903, he graduated with his PhD in psychology after studying under those two psychologists. And during his time at the University of Chicago, he did meet his first wife, Mary Ikes. They were married in 1901 and had two children, Mary and John. While building their family there, John remained at the University of Chicago doing research until 1907. At that point, he was offered a position at Johns Hopkins University as a professor of psychology. There he served for 13 years before he resigned in 1920 due to an affair with a graduate research assistant, Rosalie Rayner. It made headlines because Mary and Watson both came from politically prominent families. And so his reputation was really kind of ruined among the academic elite. So he did choose to leave Johns Hopkins University with Rosalie, which they were actually then married within a year of his resignation and went on to have two children of their own, James and William. They were married for 15 years until Rayner's death in 1935 due to contracting dysentery from eating tainted fruit. Now, during Watson's second marriage with Rosalie, he began a new career in advertising due to his tainted reputation among the academic elite. He worked at an American advertising agency, J. Walter Thompson, where he quickly rose to vice president within a couple of years and worked on some pretty big successful campaigns that had to do with Pond's Cold Cream and Maxwell House Coffee. Shortly after his second wife's death, Watson did retire from advertising and lived on a farm in Connecticut. He remained there until his death in 1958 at the age of 80. His death was due to natural causes. Now to touch a little bit on his work, because he is has had such a profound impact on the field of psychology. First, I want to touch on his early studies and publication, Animal Education, an experimental study on the physical development of the white rat correlated with the growth of its nervous system. This was really the first modern scientific book on rat behavior and described the relationship between brain myelinization and learning abilities in rats at different ages. He did go on to find that there wasn't a large correlation between the two, but the research has been described as a classic of development psychobiology by the historian of psychology, Donald Dewsbury. Now, following his graduation at the University of Chicago, Watson went on to perform a series of studies on animal behavior by studying seabirds in Florida for 4 years. He studied every aspect of their life, which became to be known as ethology, which is the study of animal behavior. Also has extensive documentation on the research provided an early example of ethogram, which is the comprehensive record of the naturally occurring behavior of an organism. Now, during Watson's time at Johns Hopkins, his behaviorism philosophy emerged. He published in 1913 the article Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It, also known as the Behaviorist Manifesto. It's considered to be one of Watson's most important works. The article really launched behaviorism into the world of psychology, and it was all about putting stress on external behaviors of people over internal reactions. He believed it was really the only true objective method in understanding human action. It wasn't always taken as seriously at first, but nearly 40 years later, in the 1950s, the manifesto did start to be referenced in many psychology books and became very well known among psychologists, especially B.F. Skinner, who was a scientist who was greatly influenced by the article and the theory, and went on to test the theories behind behaviorism, and eventually developed his own theory of operant conditioning, which is very relevant today. Of course, one of the other big things that Watson is known for is his Little Albert experiment. Much of Watson's later career was spent applying his theories to child development, which is really where this experiment came from. He wanted to know if Ivan Pavlov's theory of classical conditioning could work on humans. It had been tested on animals at that point, but he wanted to know if it could be done on humans. So he found 10-month-old infant Albert, established prior to the experiment that he had no fear of a white rat. So then the experiment actually took place, where each time Albert was shown the white rat, a loud bang was presented that would startle and scare Albert. After several trials, Albert did develop a fear of the white rat, because he anticipated the loud bang to accompany the presence of the rat. Even after the completion of the experiment, Albert continued to fear white rats and actually most white fuzzy animals or objects. It's certainly, the Little Albert experiment is certainly one of the most well-known experiments in the psychology community for multiple reasons. It's one of the earliest experiments on conditioning done on humans, but it's also known for its questionable moral and ethical standards. This experiment kind of launched the standards of putting ethical standards into place within the psychology community. So one other thing I want to touch on is Watson's work that he published called The Psychological Care of Infant and Child. It was really his theory about how children should be treated as adults. They should not be coddled. They should not receive extra attention because as adults we don't, so they shouldn't be treated that way as children. It didn't really take off. Many found his theory to be off-putting and cold. Even Watson's own wife, Rayner, refused Watson's theory on parenting when she published an article titled, "I Am a Mother of a Behaviorist Son," which encouraged displays of affection in parenting. Even later in life, Watson came out acknowledging he did not know enough in the area of parenting and regretted even writing the topic on child rearing. Overall, he's had an incredible impact on the psychology community. He's received many awards, published many articles and books. His impact today is still very relevant. He's very well known for developing the concept of behaviorism, which, like I said, rose to be a major theory within the field of psychology. Classical conditioning and behavior modifications are still greatly used concepts in many therapies and behavior plans today. It's used in modifying behaviors such as smoking and substance abuse. It's used in aversion therapy, systematic desensitization, and in flooding as well. Some of his theories in advertising are still used to this day as well, which is the principle of associative learning, which uses reinforcers to link ideas and experiments together. Now, like I said, he's not wildly known for his research and publications on child rearing. And even his own children, 3 of the 4 have attempted suicide in their life. And it caused a lot of contention within the family because he was raising his children based off of his theories. So, like I said, Watson's contributions to the field of psychology have been significant in many ways. He's considered to be the founding father of behaviorism, which is still evolving to this day. It's used in many fields, like I said, such as therapies, behavior modification plans, education settings, advertising, and so on. And although his parenting tips were not highly suggested or respected, he can be acknowledged for the large contribution of conditioning, which has shaped behavior modification models today. So he has had a profound impact on the field of psychology. It would have been great to see what other further research he had, but his impact has already been substantial up to this point. So that's my presentation on John B. Watson. I hope you guys enjoyed and maybe learned a few extra facts.